I never knew my simple kindness would lead to a shocking family secret. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My fingers trembled as I held the faded note. It smelled of desperation, the ink smudged from tears long dried. It was my mother's handwriting, shaky, unsteady. "I'm sorry, I hope you can forgive me." Those words clawed at my chest, each syllable a fresh wound. I never knew kindness could bear such dark consequences that I spent that day shuffling through the remnants of our family's past, old photographs scattered around me like fallen leaves in the wind. My chest tightened with each face I recognized, yet there were strange ones too. A man, tall and shadowy, standing beside my mother in a photograph taken years before I was born. Why couldn't I place him? The silence around me felt heavy, suffocating. That man, he stared back at me, almost as if he knew I was searching for answers. My heart raced. What if he wasn't just an old friend? What if he had been part of something darker? I had questions and a growing sense of dread. My mother, the woman who cradled me to sleep, whispered sweet nothings in my ear. Could she really carry such secrets? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows in my room. I thought of my brother, Jason. We shared everything: dreams, fears, even our mom's famous lasagna. But could I share this? Would he understand? He was still so innocent, wrapped in the cocoon of our carefree childhood. If I uncovered the truth, would it shatter him too? Frustration clawed at me. I needed to talk to my mother, but her absence echoed louder than any words could fill. I felt lost, grappling with a storm inside me. I plunged into the depths of memory's family gatherings, laughing until our stomachs hurt. But now, a veil hung over those moments, tainted by this revelation. What was I really searching for? Closure? Revenge? Or the chance to protect what little family I had left? The air felt thick. It was almost impossible to breathe. And just then, I caught a glimpse of something shiny peeking from beneath an old, tattered blanket, an ornate box with intricate carvings. My heart pounded. Was it a treasure or a Pandora's box holding dark secrets? I reached for it, my fingers brushing the cool surface. Was this the answer to all my questions? Or another layer of confusion yet to be unraveled? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With trembling hands, I pried open the ornate box, the hinges creaking in protest. Inside, a collection of delicate trinkets laid nestled in velvet, their stories waiting to be unearthed. A locket with a faded photograph of a woman I didn't recognize, a silver ring engraved with strange symbols, and a bundle of letters tied with a fraying ribbon. Each item reverberated with an unsettling energy, the weight of my family's history pressing down on me. That I picked up the locket, peering closely at the image. The woman looked strikingly like my mother but younger, her eyes sparkling with a mischief I had never seen in her. "Who are you?" I whispered, the question hanging heavy in the stillness of the room. A chill ran down my spine as the uncertainty loomed over me like a dark cloud, and I set the locket down as if it scorched my palm. Tonight, I couldn't just sit in silence. Wrapped in my confusion and fear, I snuck down the dimly lit hallway that led to Jason's room. What if I told him? What if I shattered the last remnants of our childhood with the cold, hard truth? But there was something in me that whispered he had to know, that secrets could fester like wounds if left unexamined. With each step, I recalled his laughter, his wide-eyed wonder as he believed in heroes and fairy tales. Would he still believe in them after I unveiled our mother's secret? I paused outside his door, listening to the gentle rhythm of his breathing, a serene soundtrack to my turmoil. Gathering courage, I knocked softly. The door creaked open, and Jason's sleepy eyes blinked at me, confusion etched on his face. "Hey, what's wrong?" he asked, stretching like a cat, a warm smile breaking through the drowsiness. "Can I come in?" I ventured, my voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, and I felt a rush of relief mixed with dread. The room was awash with the soft light of his bedside lamp, illuminating posters of superheroes plastered on the walls. I sat at the edge of his bed, wrapping my arms around my knees as I struggled to articulate the storm inside me. Alex? Jason's voice was laced with worry. "You're scaring me." That I looked into his eyes, searching for the innocence I wanted to protect. "I found something today, something about Mom." I managed, the weight of the revelation threatening to crush me. There are things about her past that she never told us. Things that could change everything. His brow furrowed, confusion swirling into fear. "What kind of things?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed on the bedside table. I reached for it, the screen lighting up with an unexpected message from an unknown number. "I know what you found. Meet me at the old park tomorrow. It's important." My breath hitched as adrenaline surged through me. Who was this person? What did they know about my mother? "Alex." Jason's voice broke through my thoughts, desperation tinging his tone. "What's happening?" "I don't know," I stammered, glancing back at him, trying to see the hero I had always portrayed for him. "But I need to figure it out. I need to protect us, no matter what comes." In that moment, the gravity of my words settled in the room, heavy yet fragile. "Can you do that?" he asked softly, a hint of trembling in his voice. "I'll try," I promised, though inside, self-doubt gnawed at me. Would I really be able to shield him from the storm brewing, just beyond the horizon? We fell into a tense silence, bound by unspoken fears and the shadows of looming secrets. I knew that tomorrow would lead me deeper into the unseen, but I couldn't shake the feeling that unraveling this thread could unspool everything we held dear. As Jason drifted back into slumber, I sat awake, torn between the comfort of family and the unearthed truth that twisted within me like a coiled serpent. Outside, the chill of the night whispered ominously, and I closed my eyes, praying for the strength to face whatever lay ahead. But the reality of the situation crashed over me like a tidal wave. Did I dare to follow the breadcrumbs of my mother's past, knowing it could lead to heartbreak? What if the secrets revealed something I was not prepared to embrace? With that thought wrapping around me, the darkness pressed close, and I braced myself for the revelation that awaited. Would tomorrow bring clarity, or would it shatter everything I clung to? Dawn unfolded like a reluctant flower, casting muted hues of orange across the sky as I sat on the edge of my bed, my heart still racing from the night's turmoil. I kept replaying the message in my mind. "I know what you found." A chill crept through me, more powerful than the morning air. What profound knowledge could this stranger possess? Jason's soft snore echoed from his room, a benign reminder of innocence, and I envied him for a moment. He had no grasp of the storm gathering on the horizon. I knew I had to prepare for the possibility of betrayal and deceit, but the thought of him becoming ensnared in my discoveries made my stomach twist into knots. When I finally pushed myself to get out of bed, my body felt heavy with anticipation. I donned a simple hoodie and jeans, a semblance of armor to carry me through the day. As I descended the staircase, I glanced at the faded portrait of my mother hanging on the wall. She looked ethereal, adorned in what seemed like an otherworldly glow, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that now enveloped her legacy. "Alex, breakfast." My father called from the kitchen, his voice a soothing balm, even if it was laced with the burdens of grief and unspoken words. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I entered the kitchen, where a plate of scrambled eggs awaited me. My father, ever the provider, sat at the table with a newspaper in hand, but his eyes kept darting towards me, searching for a glimpse of what was brewing beneath the surface. "Anything on your mind?" he asked casually, but I could see the hint of concern in his gaze. He knew me too well. "Just tired, I suppose," I replied, trying to keep my voice light. As I pushed the eggs around my plate, I felt his scrutiny. I couldn't bear the thought of opening the floodgates of conversation, especially with my father's protective nature. His love was a fortress, but today I needed to step outside of those walls. After all, I was heading straight into the unknown. "Jason still sleeping?" he asked, shifting his focus back to the paper. I nodded, grateful for the distraction. As the minutes crawled by, the clock on the wall ticked louder than normal, its repetitive sound a poignant reminder of the timeline I was racing against. I had only a few hours left before meeting the mysterious messenger at the park, and dread mixed with adrenaline as I imagined what could await me. The park was ensconced in an aura of tranquility, an ironic juxtaposition to my internal chaos. With every step I took on the gravel path, the situation felt more surreal. Trees whispered secrets among themselves, the rustle of leaves dancing on the breeze. I arrived early, anxiety twisting in my stomach as I paced near the aging swings. Lost in thought, I barely noticed the figure approaching until a voice pierced the ambient sounds of the park. "You're Alex, right?" I turned sharply to meet the gaze of a young woman with fiery red hair that danced in the wind. Her features were somewhat familiar, not someone I recognized, but she bore an uncanny resemblance to my mother, and that recognition sent a shiver down my spine. "Who are you?" I managed, uncertainty lacing my words. "Name's Rachel," she replied, glancing around as if wary of being seen. "I know things about your family, about your mother." The air thickened with the potential for revelation, and I resisted the urge to pull back. "What do you know?" She hesitated, her fingers twitching nervously around a small bundle of folded papers. "I found these in a box that your mother gave to me years ago. She wanted me to have them for safekeeping." She was scared. Her eyes bore into mine with an intensity that felt both predatory and fragile. "What are you talking about?" I asked, suddenly feeling myself teeter on the edge of something I wasn't prepared to embrace. "I met your mother when she was younger. She was in a different life, Alex, one filled with secrets and shadows. There are things she never told you, things that could hurt you and your brother that I don't understand," I whispered, the words catching in my throat as betrayal clawed at the edges of my mind. My mother was always painted as the beacon of light in my life, but what light could emerge from a past riddled with fear? Rachel took a cautious step closer, her voice softening. "I'm not here to hurt you. I wanted to warn you she was trying to protect you, and in doing so, she made choices that may come to haunt you both. Why should I trust you?" My heart thundered wildly, every beat echoing my desperate need for clarity amidst the chaos that I know it's hard. "But I can prove it," she said, unfolding one of the papers and revealing a series of letters, ink smudged and almost illegible with time. "These were addressed to you. Your mother wanted you to have them if anything ever happened." My breath caught, an inexplicable fear wrapping around my chest. How would I ever understand the weight of such truths? "What does it say?" Rachel's expression softened further, empathy shining through her earlier tension. "Bit by bit, it reveals a history, a connection between your family and a legacy of which you may not be aware. But be careful, Alex. Not all of it is meant to be uncovered, at least. Not yet." The air hung with unsaid words, potential futures shimmering just beyond our immediate grasp. Before I could ask her more, the sudden ring of my phone sliced through the charged atmosphere, and Rachel retreated into the shadows, leaving me suspended in uncertainty. Panic surged as I answered the call. "Hello, I know where you are," a low voice hissed on the other end, sending adrenaline racing through my veins. "You need to leave now. They're coming for you." The line went dead, and I stood there, heart racing, a kaleidoscope of emotions crashing over me. What did Rachel know? What sort of world was I stepping into? Reality warped around me as I spotted a figure darting between the trees, an ominous shadow that sent a surge of instinctive fear coursing through me. I turned on my heels and ran, propelled by a desperate need to escape whatever dark tide was forcefully rising within my family's past. The echo of hidden truths and haunting secrets clung to my soul as I fled, and I knew then there would be no turning back. With my heart pounding in my chest, I dashed through the park, each footfall a frantic plea for escape. The scent of damp earth and wildflowers filled my nostrils, mingled with the sharp tang of fear. I could feel my pulse drumming in my ears, drowning out the world as I pushed toward the exit. The fleeting glances of curious strangers blurred into a hazy backdrop of indifference to my turmoil. I reached the wrought iron gates and pushed through them, my breath coming in rapid bursts, desperate to distance myself from the ominous shadow that lingered just beyond the trees. Where could I go? My home felt like a sanctuary, now turned into a trap. In the chaos, I realized I had to find Jason, his warmth a tether to whatever stability lingered in my life. Just as I rounded the corner towards our street, my phone buzzed again in my pocket. This time, the text came from an unsaved number. "They know everything." My heart plummeted into the pit of my stomach. I didn't know if the message referred to Rachel's revelations or something even deeper and more sinister. With trembling hands, I typed back, "Who? What do you want?" But a part of me already knew it wouldn't help. The uncertainty rooted itself in my bones, growing heavy with every second that I sprinted up the driveway and burst through the front door, the familiar scent of coffee and the faint notes of piano music wafting through the house like a comforting embrace. Jason was perched on the edge of the couch, a bowl of cereal cradled in his lap, his eyes wide with concern. "Alex? What's wrong?" he asked, dropping the spoon. The innocence in his voice only fueled my anxiety. I couldn't burden him with my fears, not after everything he had already faced. "Nothing. I just went for a run," I stumbled, desperate to mask the truth. But the worry swimming in his blue eyes told me he saw right through the facade. "Are you sure? You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, his brow furrowing deeper. "Yeah, I'm fine. Just a long morning. How's the music going?" I attempted to redirect his attention, but the effort felt forced and flimsy. I needed to talk to him about what was happening, but my mind raced with the implications. What if I pulled him into the darkness beckoning from the edges of my life? Before he could ask any further, my father entered the room, his demeanor radiating calm in the face of my spiraling emotions. "Hey guys, everything okay? I thought I heard someone running in past." "Just a morning jog," I said, my voice steadier this time, a mask of normalcy slipping over my agitation. "Good. You should take a shower. You look exhausted, Alex," he replied, oblivious to the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. I nodded mutely and fled to my room, shutting the door behind me. Privacy came with a price: isolation. Yet, it was what I needed to think. As I sank onto my bed, I replayed every word Rachel had uttered, the enigmatic letter she had alluded to, the warning that still echoed in my ears. A part of me yearned to learn more, to unravel the secrets woven into my family's past. But who would I become once I did? With a heavy heart, I took my phone and scanned the letters Rachel had spoken of in my mind. I glanced toward the bookshelf, where my mother's belongings still lay untouched. There was a box I had seen countless times but never dared to open, a simple, unmarked affair that had collected dust as it waited for its moment. A fateful pulse thrummed beneath my skin, nudging me toward the whispers of my past. But my thoughts were interrupted as I caught a movement from the corner of my eye, a faint shadow flitting across my window. I jumped to my feet and peered through the curtains, adrenaline surging anew. A dark figure lingered at the edge of our property, their silhouette barely discernible in the fading daylight. My breath hitched as recognition sparked in my mind, a form so familiar, yet terrifying that it can't be, I whispered, heart racing. The last time I had seen that figure was years ago, disappeared without a trace, one of the many ghosts left unaccounted for in my life. I stepped back reluctantly as panic gripped me. "Alex, what are you doing?" I felt a paradoxical urge to confront whatever fate awaited me. Perhaps this shadow held answers I desperately needed, but before I could act, a loud bang resounded from downstairs. My father shouted in alarm, followed by Jason's frantic voice calling for me. "Alex." Fear washed over me, uncertainty blurring my thoughts. Whatever was out there was now inside my home, threatening to shatter the fragile peace that had lingered ever since my mother's passing. My instincts screamed at me to run, to hide, but something deep, a call to understand, to confront this impending chaos, propelled me forward. I turned towards the door, my heart in a tumult. One step into the unknown, I thought, and I could either find clarity or fall further into the abyss. As I grasped the doorknob, poised to face whatever awaited me, I whispered a silent prayer for strength, knowing my world had irrevocably altered once again. The echoes of my father's alarm reverberated through the house, each shout amplifying the tension that pulsed in the air. I hesitated at the threshold of my room, wondering if stepping out would mean the end of what little stability I had clung to. "Alex." Jason's voice rose, tinged with the strain of urgency and disbelief. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and stepped into the living room, the familiar layout now twisted by a litter of uncertainty. My father stood at the far side of the room, his face pale, eyes darting from the door to the window, as if he were searching for a phantom. Jason glanced toward me, his expression a mix of relief and distress. In that moment, I felt the weight of my secrets pressing down on me like an invisible chain. "Stay back," my father warned, his voice low, but I could discern the underlying panic simmering just beneath the surface. My gaze fell on the broken glass scattered around the coffee table, glinting like shards of a darker reality. The reflection of my father's anxious form sent fear coursing through me. What had happened? I stepped fully into the room, my heart drumming under the urgency of the moment. What's going on? What happened? There was someone at the Jason began before my father interrupted, a wild fear etched across his face. Alex, just wait. We need to carefully assess this situation, he said, his voice hovering between calm and chaos. The quiet stillness that followed was suffocating, pressing down on my shoulders. Silence hung heavily. And then there it was, a low, persistent knocking echoing from the front door, deliberate and unnerving, as if it were in direct contrast to the chaos swirling within us. Who could it be? Jason whispered, moving closer to me, protecting me even before I had a chance to ask. The unspoken question in his eyes was undeniable. Was it the figure from the window? Stay here, my father instructed, stealing glances toward the door. He was a protector, often stoic and unyielding, yet I sensed the turmoil brewing within him. We'll check it out. No, I shouted, the words bursting forth in desperation. Let me, Alex. He faced me, the authority in his tone rattling a sense of fear into my chest. Just trust me. I wanted to argue, to push back against the instinct that told me there was something far deeper at play. But the flash of worry darting across Jason's face quelled my defiance. My father stepped toward the door, his careful steps etched with caution, as if he were walking towards a landmine. The knock sounded again, louder and more insistent. My pulse quickened. Every instinct screamed for flight, yet I felt rooted to the spot, watching as he unlatched the door slowly. When the door creaked open, the figure that stood before us felt like both an apparition and a harbinger of chaos. Closely resembling the dark shadow I had glimpsed earlier, the visitor was cloaked in a familiar outline that sent a chill racing down my spine. Is this a bad time? A voice sliced through the tension, light yet heavy with implications. I squinted through the narrowing space. The person standing there was no stranger, but a face I had thought lost, a history, the kind of loss that should have stitched itself into our family's narrative years ago. Nina? I gasped, the name escaping my lips like a soft prayer mingling with disbelief. My aunt, long presumed gone, her absence a ghost haunting my childhood, now stood on the precipice of my reality, her tear-drenched eyes reflecting both fear and a fervent longing. The room filled with stunned silence, my heart now thundering as if trying to escape from the sudden storm brewing around us. Nina's lips trembled, her eyes darting from person to person, searching for solace amidst the chaos. I need to talk to you, Alex. It's about your mother. The weight of her words crushed the air between us. Time slowed as I processed the implications of that statement. My mother's ghost hung over every word, every breath I had taken, tethering me to painful memories and unanswered questions. You shouldn't be here, my father finally spoke, his commanding tone faltering, as panic crept back into his voice. This isn't safe, don't you understand? It's not just about safety. Nina's voice cracked, each word heavy with years of secret burdens. There are things you don't know, things we have to face together. If we don't, she trailed off, and in the tethered silence that followed, I felt the fabric of my family's story stretching ominously towards breaking. Suddenly, Jason stepped forward, bravely placing a hand on my shoulder. We need to listen to her, he said softly, catching my gaze. His eyes offered a warmth that steadied my racing heart, the only flicker of hope amidst this chaotic reunion. But before we could respond, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house, a sound sharp enough to cleave the air, sending a fresh wave of panic through us all. The atmosphere thickened, and my father's expression shifted. Fear etched itself deeper into his brow. Nina, you need to leave now, my father ordered, hurriedly turning back toward the doorway, the protective instincts surging at the edges of his consciousness. Confusion enveloped me as I processed the weight of truths waiting to unravel. No, wait. I turned to Nina, desperate for answers as the world buckled around us. What do you mean? What happened to Mom? But her pale gaze held an ancient sorrow that spanned generations, plunging me into an emotional abyss. I can't leave you, Alex. Not when you're in danger, when we all are. Just then, the crash file crashed my burgeoning resolve. Everything we had known, every lie that had created this fragility was tipping over. Nina, I shouted just as another sound rippled through the house, reverberating through the very walls that wrapped us in turmoil. Alex. Jason's voice broke through the clamor as we huddled together, fear tightening its grip. I caught my father staring across the room, realizing with alarming clarity that our peaceful life could shatter at any moment. Yet a single truth remained: answers loomed closer than ever, cloaked within a whisper of danger around us. And as I grasped Jason's hand tightly, I felt the weight of the revelations yet to come. I knew this time wouldn't end with simply the uncovering of a family secret. It would tear apart the veil that separated us from knowing the heart of the storm we had unwittingly walked into. The noise that splintered the air was a haunting prelude to chaos, reverberating through the very foundation of our home, the sanctuary that had slowly transformed into an arena for confrontation. My heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing my confusion and fear. Alex, we need to go. Jason pulled me closer to him, his grip tightening as if he sought to tether me to safety. The urgency in his voice resonated as the dreadful crashing echoed again, punctuating the air like thunder in a storm. Nina, please. I felt desperate tears sting my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. The reunion could not end like this, shrouded in uncertainty and fear. Just tell me, what happened to Mom? Where has she been? The questions broke free from a place of vulnerability, a place I had guarded fiercely for years. Nina's breath hitched, her eyes searching my face as if weighing the implications of her words. Alex, I never meant for you to find out like this. But no. You promised me answers, I interrupted, my voice rising in an almost frantic plea. This can't be another secret between us. I deserve to know. My father stood immobilized, caught between the past and the present as the distant thump of something heavy reverberated from the back of the house, shattering the moment. I won't put you in danger, Nina. His tone had shifted, no longer the protective father, but a man on the brink of revelation and turmoil. That instant, I noticed Jason scanning the shadows beyond the door, his instincts heightened, but his concern lingered on me. He leaned closer, whispering, whatever happens, we'll face it together. A fragile sense of hope flickered through me in contrast to the storm brewing outside. A different kind of strength surged as I locked eyes with Jason. But it was quickly overrun by Nina's visceral statement. Your mother isn't who you think she is, Alex. She's been tangled in a web that goes far deeper than any of us realized. Her voice, laced with sorrow, broke as she looked at my father. I made mistakes, horrible ones, and I was too afraid to come back. But if we don't figure this out, figure what out? I demanded, my heart pounding so loudly that I thought it would drown out the chaos around us. Before she could reply, the crashing intensified, harder, louder, a cacophony that seemed to rip through the air, startling every nerve in my body. I turned to my father, desperate for him to take control, to shield us from whatever was happening. Stay behind me, he barked, his voice commanding, yet laced with underlying fear of the unknown. I could see his strength wavering, crumbling as layers of his stoic facade peeled away. Please, just tell me. I pleaded anew, desperation coloring my tone with urgency. Nina looked at me, her expression torn between the instinct to shield me from the truth and the imperative need for honesty. Your mother, she was involved in things that jeopardized our family. I didn't want to believe any of it until I had proof, and now it's too late. That a chill snaked through my spine, a sense of impending dread replacing the lingering remnants of adrenaline. What kind of things? You're scaring me. Just then, there was a loud crash from the kitchen, where the unmistakable sound of glass shattering reached us. The world outside seemed to dim further, shadows encroaching around us as something dark stirred in the corners of my mind. Nina, we can't talk here, my father urged, his fear translating into a sense of urgency I could no longer ignore. Let's move, Jason insisted, taking a step back toward the hall. The sound ahead loomed, as if whatever had breached our sanctuary was inching closer, threatening to unravel the fragile truth we were straining to uncover. But I couldn't move. No, I need to know more, I shouted, my voice trembling. You can't just drop these bombshells and expect me to run. Nina stepped closer, desperation pooling in her tearful eyes. The danger isn't just from the outside, Alex, it's what's hidden within our family. Then came the moment that threw everything into chaos, a loud crash, followed by a sharp cry that sent a jolt through me. A long shadow stretched across the hallway, the tension snapping like a wire on the verge of breaking. Go. Now, my father barked, directing his urgency toward all of us as fear gripped him. But the moment I turned to Jason, to seek the comfort of his familiar presence, I found the hallway shrouded in darkness. My heart dropped as I realized that he was no longer beside me. It was as if he had vanished into thin air, swallowed by whatever horror loomed just beyond the threshold. "Jason?" I cried out, a wave of panic surging forward. The world blurred as uncertainty flooded my mind. The sense of safety had diminished, leaving me teetering on the edge of dread. With horror, I turned to Nina, searching her face for answers, for reassurance. But all I found were the reflections of struggles shared and a growing realization that my family was indeed wrapped in secrets far heavier than I ever could have comprehended. And as I stood there, broken by the emptiness of Jason's absence, the shadows deepened, foreshadowing truths that would fracture whatever remnants of normalcy remained. In that moment, I grasped the unshakable truth. If we were going to confront what lay ahead, we would need to face everything together or risk being lost forever. The air was thick with tension as I stood there, staring blankly into the shadows of the hallway, wrestling with the horrid realization that Jason was gone. Every heartbeat echoed in my ears like a fragile whisper of hope being slowly snuffed out. The uncertainty choked me, a vice tightening around my chest, obscuring the very essence of who I thought I was and who I believed him to be in my life. "Nina, where did he go?" The words rushed out before I could stop them, a plead laced with confusion and fear. Her silence felt heavy, almost like an admission of guilt hanging in the air between us that I don't know. "Alex," she finally managed, her voice breaking. "But we have to focus on getting out of here." "Leave him?" I spat back, incredulous at the suggestion. "He wouldn't leave us. In times of crisis, we don't always know who is on our side," my father said, his weary eyes reflecting the weight of unspoken tensions. That statement hung heavily in the air, a reminder of the duplicity surrounding us. There was a noise at the back door, a scraping and the faintest whisper of movement that skated across my skin. The haunting memories of Alexov's laughter, of the moments we'd shared flickered in my mind, making me ache for his presence more than I ever thought possible. Memories have a way of harnessing both joy and dread in delicate balance, and at that moment, all I felt was loss that a shiver coursed through me, wrapping itself like a haunting specter, nudging me toward action. I couldn't just stand paralyzed while another crash reverberated through the house, echoing this dark tide of uncertainty. I had to find Jason. Without thinking, I dashed toward the kitchen, not bothering to look at my father or Nina, focusing entirely on the path ahead. Fragments of scattered glass crunched underfoot with each step, slicing through the thick veil of silence and leaving trails of fear in their wake. My heart raced, each thump an urging reminder that I was alive, that I couldn't let fear dictate my fate. The moment I reached the kitchen doorway, I froze. My breath caught in my throat as I took in the sight before me. What should have been the familiar landscape of our family Lithia warm haven of home-cooked meals and laughter had morphed into a disarray of shattered glass and disarray. The heavy odor of something burning lingered in the air, taunting me with memories of normalcy just hours before. "Jason," I called out, but my voice felt weak, swallowed by the oppressive atmosphere. I edged into the kitchen, searching every dim corner, every shadow for a sign of him. I felt dejected, the small flickers of light that had once brought warmth now refracting sharply against my skin. Suddenly, a figure stirred near the back door, a glimmer of hope against a backdrop of chaos. "Alex." It was Jason. Relief flooded through me like a balm, but it was swiftly extinguished by the sight of him. He seemed terrified, his face pale and streaked with something dark. "Was it blood?" "Get down," he shouted as instinctively he threw himself in front of me, shielding me from whatever about to unleash itself from the door. "Jason, what's happening?" My voice trembled as I stepped forward, both desperate to connect and petrified of the answers that lay ahead. Fear locked us in a tense embrace as we stood in that kitchen, the air electrified with unspoken truths. Whatever had breached our home now had the scent of uncertainty, becoming almost tangible against the backdrop of shattered glass. But Jason's eyes were focused, searching mine, and in that moment, clarity rang out louder than the chaos. "I think it's them," he whispered, barely audible, but the weight of his words hit me like a freight train. Who? I demanded, trying to make sense of what could bring this storm to our home. You have to trust me, Alex, but we need to move now. He extended his hand, urging me toward the back door, but my mind was awash with questions, pieces of the puzzle slipping through my fingers like grains of sand. But just as I turned to grab his hand, the door burst open, light flooding the dim room, revealing a silhouette. Against the brightness, I squinted against the glare, my heart dropping as a chilling realization gripped me. The figure was familiar, yet unmistakably shifted, altered by the secrets veiled beneath dark intentions. Mama? I blinked, disbelief warring with joy, but my gut twisted in apprehension. This couldn't be real, and yet, as she stepped forward, the form was undeniably my mother. But there was something off about her. Her eyes glinted coldly, and confidence radiated from her, as if she were a stranger wrapped in familiar flesh. Alex, she began, her voice laced with a firm coolness. It's time you learned the truth. Another layer of upheaval settled in the air, uncoiling like a serpent prepared to strike. Every instinct urged me forward, but a deeper instinct pulled me back, urging caution. My heart raced with a new rhythm, hope entwined with dread. The rhythm of our choices shifted on this precipice of revelation, that I sensed Jason's arm tense beside me, hesitation coursing through him. The shadows darkened around us once more, winding tighter. And as I caught my mother's gaze, I realized that this truth might unravel us completely, exposing who she truly was. I didn't know if I had the courage to confront it, and as I held my breath, waiting for the storm to break or the dam to burst, I felt the world pivot beneath me, teetering on the edge of everything I knew. The silence that hung in the kitchen was thick, each moment stretching into eternity as I grappled with the implications of my mother's presence. The moment felt surreal, as if I were caught in a dream from which I couldn't wake. Beneath the din of chaos, the unsettling air was filled with foreboding and the desperate need for answers, a visceral tension pulsing between us. Mama? I whispered again, the name spilling from my lips like a prayer. I wanted to dash into her arms, to find solace in the familiarity of her embrace. But the intensity of her expression, icy and calculating, made the need vanish before it could fully form. He's not safe here, Jason uttered, his hand still grasping mine tightly, a vice of protection against whatever truth lay before us. Who isn't safe? My voice wavered, reflecting the tumult inside. What are you talking about? She took a step forward, her posture commanding, her voice resonating with an authority I had never before associated with my mother. You've been shielded from the reality of our world for too long, Alex. It's time you understood. A pulse of fear quickened in my veins, and I turned my gaze to Jason. The look in his eyes mirrored my own trepidation, yet also contained a flicker of unwavering resolve. We need to go, now, his urgent whisper grounded me in the moment, and oh. I snapped back, torn between rebellion and instinct. I need to hear her. I can't just run away. Mama, please. I pleaded, desperation rising to the surface as the familiar warmth slowly turned frigid. Just tell me what's going on. What truth? For a fleeting moment, I saw something shift in her expression, the cool facade cracking, revealing the woman who had cradled my fears and soothed my tears. It vanished as quickly as it came, replaced by the steely conviction that had become her armor. You'll thank me later. Just trust me. You don't understand the danger in choosing ignorance. The danger? I echoed, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. Is this about Jason? What has he done? Enough. She snapped, her tone reverberating through the chaos of the room. This isn't about blame. It's about survival. Those who come for us are not looking for mercy, they want power, and they have set their sights on you. My heart raced at her words. Me? Why me? The panic clawed at my chest, but beneath the fear, fragile tendrils of hope clung desperately to the belief that there was still a way to save everything I loved. Because of who you are, because of your blood, she responded, her cool demeanor unwavering. But then her words revealed an aching truth I couldn't fully grasp, diving deep into the tangled roots of our past. A thunderous crash sounded from the living room, shattering the fragile moment we shared. Jason tugged at my hand, pulling me away from my mother's chilling gaze. We have to go? Now. Before I could respond, the shadows seemed to move, coiling around us, a living entity hungry for secrets long buried. I felt alive with fear, my body taut, as we sprinted toward the door. My mother's voice cut through the air, a melody laced with both certainty and sorrow. Choose wisely, Alex. Trust the right ones, those who would step into the light for you. Even at the cost of their own darkness, I ran. Uncertainty gnawed at me. Her words echoed in my mind, replaying like a haunting refrain. Was Jason one of those who could truly stand in the light? Or was he perhaps leading me closer to the very darkness my mother warned me about? The sun was starting to dip below the horizon as we fled the house, the shadows elongating around us. Darkness seeped into the spaces I once considered safe. Jason's grip tightened as we navigated through the remnants of what was once our home, but as we neared the exit, an oppressive feeling crept over me. My heart raced. The air felt thick with an unseen weight. We stumbled across the threshold, the familiar form of our home fading behind us, the chaos of the kitchen retreating as we stepped into the night. Jason pulled me around a nearby tree, taking shelter while glancing back. That's when I heard her voice again, neither soft nor faint, but clear and commanding, drifting out into the night air from the entryway of our former sanctuary. You cannot escape who you truly are, my daughter. The truth waits for you. Every muscle in my body tightened, my breath hitching in my throat. I turned to Jason, his eyes widened with a frantic energy I hadn't seen. We can't go back. Not now. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise, he vowed. But the shadows danced in the corners of my mind, intertwining his words with my mother's foreboding message. As we lurched deeper into the darkness, navigating an unfamiliar path, the weight of unanswered questions hung heavy. Uncertainty clawed at the edges of my consciousness. I could feel the gravity of it, lying in wait just beyond the veil of night, a clarity I both longed for and dreaded. And as we moved forward into the unknown, I realized that the truth was not just waiting for me, it was coming. And when it arrived, it would shatter everything I thought I knew, igniting a fire within that would consume us both. The night swallowed us whole, the darkness wrapping around us like a cloak, heavy and unyielding. As we walked, I could hear the leaves rustling beneath our hurried feet, the whispers of the woods amplifying the turmoil swirling within me. Each step drew me further away from the safety of my life, and I choked back the sob that threatened to escape. I needed to think clearly, but clarity felt like a distant mirage. Jason, I said, my voice trembling. What does she mean by my blood? What does she know that we don't? My heart thudded in my chest, grappling with the fear that something irrevocable was unfolding, the weight of history crashing down around us. He stopped abruptly, turning to face me, the dim light from the distant street lamp illuminating his anxious features. I don't know what she meant, but whatever it is, we'll figure it out together, he said, pulling me close, grounding me amidst the chaos. That I felt a strange comfort in his words, a flicker of hope igniting in my chest. But the comfort quickly waned as a cold breeze swept through the trees, carrying with it the echoes of my mother's warning. Distracted, my mind wandered back to that chaotic moment in the kitchen, the expression of fear buried beneath her steely facade. We need to find a safe place, Jason said, breaking my reverie. There's a friend nearby who can help. His urgency ignited a new wave of anxiety. What friend? Do I even know him? What if we don't have time for questions? Just trust me, Alex, please. The firmness in his voice made me nod, though my heart thundered with uncertainty. Our path twisted through the dense thicket, shadows dancing at the edges of our vision. The muffled sounds of the town faded into an unsettling silence, broken only by our labored breaths and the crunch of twigs beneath our feet. I struggled to keep pace, my mind a tangle of emotions. What if I was losing Jason too? The thought hollowed me out. As we rounded a corner, I caught sight of a flickering light in the distance, a small cabin nestled between the trees. It appeared almost like a beacon amidst the darkness. There, I pointed toward the light, desperation creeping into my tone. We can go there, Jason nodded, and we quickened our steps, relief rushing through me. As we approached, I felt an odd sense of familiarity wash over me, as though I had crossed a threshold into forgotten memories. The cabin looked modest, with its weathered facade and a single window awash with a warm glow. That he knocked briskly, and within moments, the door swung open, revealing a woman with kind eyes, and a warm, smiley, and unexpected beacon of calm amidst the turmoil. "Jason, thank goodness," she exclaimed, pulling him into an embrace before her gaze turned to me. "And you must be Alex. Come in. Quick." Her kindness enveloped me, though a shadow of doubt clung to my insides. I stepped inside the small cabin, the ambience instantly welcoming, a stark contrast to the oppressive air outside. Then she turned to Jason, concern painting her features. "You look troubled. What's happened?" "Things got out of hand, the situation with Alex's mother." His voice trailed off, glancing at me with a mixture of protectiveness and dread. "Your mother?" The woman raised an eyebrow, her curiosity apparent. "What do you mean?" I felt the weight of their gaze. "She showed up out of nowhere," I said hesitantly, encouraging the tumult within me to surface. "She said I was in danger and something about my blood." "I don't understand." The woman's expression shifted as she stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Alex, there are truths about your family that might be hard to accept, but you need to know enough." Jason interjected with urgency. "We can't get into this now. We need to regroup and come up with a plan." The woman nodded, her eyes softening as she touched my arm, a gesture of compassion laced with understanding. "We will piece it together, I promise. But first, you both need to rest." "He'll prepare some tea." "Rest?" I echoed, my mind racing with thoughts. Did I dare close my eyes when the storm of chaos was still raging outside? How can we rest when there are threats out there? When I don't even know who I am? We won't be safe forever, but right now, you need to gather your strength. "Trust me, this is only the beginning," she replied with sincere conviction. As she turned to prepare the tea, my heart quaked with a mixture of fear and fleeting comfort. The shadows lingered at the edges of my thoughts, taunting me with half-formed truths. That I took a seat by the small wooden table, peering into the flickering shadows as they danced against the walls. Jason lowered himself beside me, and for a moment, we shared a breath, a fragile bond in the tumult of our reality. "They'll protect you," he murmured, his voice a balm that almost soothed the anxiety thrumming through my veins. "Regardless of what comes. I promise." His vow offered a fleeting sense of safety, a glimmer against the darkness that threatened to devour me. But just as I began to breathe again, the cabin door blew open on a gust of wind, the hinges creaking ominously. The woman turned, her face paling. "No, it can't be." My heart sank as I caught the glint of something in the shadows. A figure stood outside, silhouetted against the light, an unmistakable aura of malice surrounding them. My breath hitched as the darkness drew near, and a realization struck me, sharp and cruel. The truth waited for me, just as my mother had said. But as the figure advanced into the warmth of the cabin, I understood with chilling clarity that not all truths were meant to be understood. Some truths shattered worlds completely. And in that moment, as the figure stepped into the light, revealing an unervingly familiar face, I felt the ground beneath me tremble, the fragile foundations of my world beginning to crumble. The tension in the air turned palpable, a quiet suffocation as the figure stepped into the cabin, illuminated by the flickering light of the one fragile lamp. Recognition slammed into me like a runaway freight train, shattering the moment's delicate balance. I felt the stolen breath catch in my throat, my heart racing wildly as my eyes locked onto the familiar features of the woman who had haunted my childhood dreams. "My mother, Mama?" I gasped, incredulity flooding every fiber of my being. "Is that really you?" Her visage was a jarring juxtaposition of home and horror, a specter returning from the abyss of my past. My mind struggled to register the truth of her presence. "You're back," but it felt less like a reunion and more like a reckoning. I stood frozen, teetering between the longing for the mother who once held me close and the reality now screaming at me, whispering secrets I was not ready to hear. The warmth of the cabin was drained, replaced by a sudden chill as I felt Jason's grip tighten around my hand, grounding me against the rising tide of dread. "You shouldn't be here," he murmured under his breath, his expression a storm of protectiveness and alarm. I could see something shifting in his eyes, a wariness that echoed my own apprehension. "Alex," my mother's voice was a somber echo through the bewildering air, filled with a mix of tenderness and an unyielding darkness that had crept uninvited into my life. "We need to talk." "Talk?" I snapped back, my voice shaking, a mixture of anger and fear. "You disappeared without a trace. leaving us to unravel, and now you just walk back into our lives as if nothing happened? The woman stepped further into the light, controlling the moment as though she could manipulate the air around us, her expression shifting between maternal concern and a haunting detachment. No, Alex. You must understand, I left for your protection. Protection? I seethed, memories spiraling around memories of unanswered questions and nights laced with whispering shadows of uncertainty. What kind of protection is abandoning your family? Her gaze fell on Jason, the air thickening around us. You must trust me when I say that what's come back is not something to be taken lightly, and you, my dear, are in danger because of who you are. Her focus shifted back to me, the weight of her words layering heavily on my heart, fury ignited in the depths of my being. What do you mean who I am? What could I possibly? But before I could finish, the woman gestured behind her, instinctively trying to shield us both. Suddenly, the air in the cabin buzzed with energy, as though acknowledging a long-buried truth had finally risen to the surface. Another presence loomed large, an unmistakable threat that sent shivers of fear down my spine. My hand reflexively tightened around Jason's as I braced myself against the unforeseen chaos. What have you done? My mother's voice trembled, her poise faltering as she stepped back slightly, confusion mingling with the fear radiating off her. Unraveled a family secret, it seems. The words came from the figure who had seeped in, malevolent and familiar. My eyes widened, realizing this was the very man from the photographer, shadowy reflection of my past entwined with everything I feared. I'm here to collect what's mine, he said coolly, his gaze pinning me like a bug under glass. No, Jason whispered, lowering his body slightly to protect me behind him. Stay back. My heart raced thumping wildly, recognizing the danger that had finally come to our doorstep, yet the weight of my mother's despair mingled with the gravity of the situation. Who are you? I demanded, forcing my voice to stay steady despite the terror clawing at my throat. Your father's brother. You may call me uncle, he said, an insidious smile spreading across his face. And I have been waiting a long time for this moment. A chill cascaded down my spine. The stories of my father's tumultuous past, the lingering shadows of family secrets, the whispers of a dark legacy threaded throughout my childhood, all coming together now in a collision of fate. Uncle, the very word, felt like an unexploded bomb, ready to detonate, and its implications coursed through me like deep venom. I've done what my brother never could, he continued, his eyes gleaming with a predatory spark. You're a key, Alex. A key that can unlock the door to unimaginable power. And oh, I shook my head, battling against disbelief. This isn't a game. Leave us alone. But he stepped forward, confidence carrying him as if he were walking into a familiar home rather than a gathering storm. You don't even know the half of it, do you? Your mother set you on this path, whether she knew it or not. You are merely a pawn in a much larger game. Enough. My mother's voice rose with a sudden intensity. This isn't your time, and you do not have a claim over her. But the man chuckled softly, a grim kind of satisfaction twisting his lips. With her blood running through you, Alex, the truth is you were born into this. Ignoring it won't set you apart. It'll consume you, as it has consumed many before you. Dragons of doubt curled around me as I felt the grip of despair tight in my chest. I took a deep breath, strengthening my resolve as clarity struck. A flicker of determination ignited within me. I would not let this man dictate my life or the choices that lay ahead. That I am not afraid of you, I declared, stepping tentatively into the space between us, urging the tremors of fear deep within me to give way to something surer, something more profound. I will find my own path. The room erupted in a cacophony of chaos. The kitchen erupted, loud crashes and emphasis consumed as confusion enveloped us all. Jason pulled me back instinctively, shielding me once more while my mother positioned herself defensively, both of them radiant with an undying shield of strength. Well, make you pay for your actions, and well, do it together, my mother said, her demeanor shifting from desperation to defiance. And just like that, our family stood fractured yet resilient, gathering like scattered pieces, ready to face the storm on our own terms. As uncertainty loomed, the weight of the blood bond and dark legacies pressed down hard on us like an anvil, legacy demanding to be reckoned with. This wasn't an ending. It was a precipice, a tipping point where choices could spell salvation or demise that I in that moment. A clarity washed over me. I wouldn't just face this family legacy head-on. I would embrace it. I was determined to carve my own path through the tumult of shadows and revelations that awaited. Let's find out what family really means, I declared, the strength resonating through me as I grasped Jason's hand tightly. Two souls intertwined against the impending chaos. Taking a breath, I turned to confront the shadows of our past and the twisted ties that threatened to bind us. And as the doors of destiny creaked open, a flicker of hope ignited within me, illuminating a path forward, through fear and uncertainty into the light waiting beyond. In the stirring silence, I whispered, "Together, we will rise."